Hello. So we've got Amber Hards with us today, and I'm recording. Hopefully, this will be split screen because when I did Joe's recording, it was just coming in and out of both our faces. But Amber, I met on Instagram, and I absolutely love your work, Amber. So Amber's predominantly a machine knit designer, but her work is so no rules. She's so exploratory. And she has a book called Well, Amber, introduce yourself, because your work's incredible. And I cannot wait to please show us some samples, some loopy things, and just the stuff that you do. Just talk to us about you. Wonderful.
So yeah, I'm a knitwear designer, and I'm a machine knitter. I learned at uni. I'd never even seen a machine before, or even heard of one
Oh,
until uni. And
were you
I
doing
had
textiles?
fashion and
Okay.
textiles, so it was sort of a bit of a mix of both, and then you specialised. And we had workshops in the knit room, and I after the first one, I was like, yes.
That's it.
I love
Oh,
I
I
love
love that.
print. I loved embroidery. I loved all textiles. Because I did that at school, and then I did a foundation. So I still loved all textiles, but something like clicked with machine knitting. And as the years progressed, um, knitwear designers were coming out of St. Martin's,
Oh, you've frozen, Amber.
and it felt like knitwear really just went
Yes.
and yeah, opened all of our eyes, like, oh, okay, it doesn't have to be just a jumper or a cardigan. Like, you can make mad jellyfish things, like mad jellyfish things. So, and I just, because I love textiles and fabrics, it just opened a whole new world for me. So sort of after I graduated, I sort of had all sorts of horrible jobs, and did all my knitwear on the side, and made, weird collections that no one would buy.
But that's kind of wonderful to like have jobs to pay the bills and be able to do whatever you like. It's just, I suppose it's a continuum of college in that respect.
Yeah, it was.
And
And
you maybe
also,
needed more time to play.
I was young as well, so I had loads of energy.
Yeah.
Like now, I couldn't do it. 22, 23, early 20s, I could work all around everywhere. And then I sort of was like, oh, but maybe it would be good to make some money from this instead of working in this bar job I hate.
Yeah.
So I started designing scarves and things, and I remember just beating myself up about that for a long time. Like, I'm not just a scarf designer. I
Because
want
you
to make
love the
jewelry.
structure so much and the
Yeah, like I
experimental.
love the weird. Like, my graduate collection was it was inspired by jellyfish. It was wild.
Was
Like,
that a piece from your graduate collection?
this sample like changed everything.
Wow.
It's like, it was stretchy and see-through. I mean, it's really
Tell us
grumpy.
more about it. What's the composition of that? It's
So
amazing.
this is nylon monofilament, and then like a lycra coated elastane. And I basically would knit long stretches of the fishing wire, and then I'd hook it all back up onto the machine. So this probably took me
You
I
froze
don't
for a
know.
minute, Amber. Go back
Oh
into this a little bit more. Sorry. So you put fishing wire and then it froze. Say
yeah,
again.
so I would knit stretches of fishing wire,
Yeah.
and then I'd hook it all back up onto the machine, so it's sort of folded in. So then you get this
Wow.
double-sided effect. So it's like ruffly on the front, and then you get this sort of lacy
Yes.
pattern. And I did it on like super scale. So I would knit 200 rows of fishing wire, and then I'd hook it all back up. So the
Wow.
dress that I made, it was sort of my big showpiece dress. That was 3 weeks of like all day, all night knitting. And it fell off a couple of times, and because it's so fine, like it's not very easy to knit with.
Yeah.
If it fell off, I'd lose hundreds and hundreds of rows. Like, I cried a lot. I had a bad back, but it just was really cool. Sorry to toot my own horn.
No, but it's
really
incredible
cool
to see your own work, you know, made up large is amazing. I had a similar thing with my St. Martin's show where I made loads of tweed paper with all stitch, and it was a lot.
Yeah, but there's something really nice, and I do miss it. There's something really nice about a technique that really takes a long time, and you get really into it, and then when it was finished, it was this big bulbous, huge, ruffly dress that when it moved, it bounced because of all the lycra. So it's like it had
pictures. Amber, can we put a picture underneath this? You can send it to me afterwards.
I'll send it to you after.
I'm gonna make a note of that picture.
I'll send it to you. I'm trying to get a friend of mine to get the video from Graduate Fashion Week, because I think he's the only person in the whole world that has it.
Oh, you must. Yeah.
So this is my reminder to ask him again.
Yeah.
But I just I loved doing all of that stuff. But obviously, that that dress was couture level.
Yeah.
And also, who is going to buy that?
Well, somebody who buys couture.
No, and I didn't have access to that market. But
do you still have the dress? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've got the dress, but it's because it got sent all around the world for photo shoots and things. It's gross now.
But it was so worth doing.
Yeah, I'm still so proud of it, and it's been 14 years since I made it now.
And that, I guess, really cemented what it is that you love about knitwear as well. The kind of whole structure kind of it is.
I love texture.
Exploring of it, the texture.
I've just always loved texture, I think, and you can build structure and texture into knit. I mean, some people love it for pattern, and you can do incredible things with pattern, but I've always been way more tactile, and just I love playing with things and manipulating,
innovating, I guess. It's innovating, really, sort of wear innovation.
And no one knew that collection was knit. Anything, because it went to Graduate Fashion Week in 2010 in the good old, social media wasn't really a thing then. So it was all blogs and people writing blogs, and no one wrote that it was knitwear. I was emailing everybody, it's knitwear, it's knitwear, it's knitwear. Like, because people were just like, oh, it's like pleated net, or it's like pleated tulle, which in itself would have been a very laborious task. But I was like, but it's even more laborious because I've made the whole thing. So I was really like, I really put it out there a lot. Like, let's knitwear. And I felt like that was my thing. Like, I'm making stuff that isn't the traditional knit, and I love traditional knit as well. Like, I think it's amazing, but the thing with the knitting machine is that you can push it so much more, and it just gives you such a wide range to like. I still feel like I've got so much more to delve into.
That's so exciting though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I love it. It's not like, and I think beginners can often find that quite overwhelming, but
sorry, Amber, you just froze again. Did you say something? It was only froze just quickly. I don't think we missed anything.
I probably who knows, many things make sense anyway. But you can start with one technique, and you can do so many things just with that.
Yes.
And then you find what you're interested in and what you enjoy, and then you can start adding in other things and then combining, and it's like you don't have to know it all at once, and that's what I love about it.
And it sounds so familiar to me, because that's exactly what I say about embroidery and sort of the textile techniques that we do in No Rules. It's like you could just, or in any of my courses, it's just like, just take that one and like spark off. It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I like to teach.
Yeah.
I think that's potentially a point of difference from the way I teach to some other people. Like, and obviously that's cool. People teach in different ways, but I really like to just teach. Here's the basic technique, right? And then here's loads of things you can do with it, you know? And then
go play.
Yeah, go play. Like, don't worry about it. Make all the mistakes. Like, this actually was a mistake. This launched a whole collection. Like, I took this in to my tutor and was like, is it a shower loofah? Like, I was like, is it good? And she was like, oh my God, it's great. And then, that leapt off. But it's only because I was just messing around.
Yeah, it is those points where you're like, is it too crazy? Is it this? I've had those moments myself where I'm like, I can't, can I?
Yeah.
And you have to sort of have somebody to ask to go,
yes.
Go, yes, come on. Amazing. Yeah.
I just always respond so much better to like that kind of enthusiastic, like, yeah, that's cool, go for it, rather than the, well, I don't know, the tough love thing is like not my thing. I try and teach that way. I try and teach people to just don't be afraid. Like, there's no wrong. And I know people like rules, so I teach the very basic. Here's the basic rules you need to know. But then why don't you just have a go? What's the worst that can happen?
And parameters for our exploding minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, so in this prompt, we've kind of, we're doing loops. And I did wonder whether you had any, so I think you said you had a little pile.
I've got loops,
samples that you could show us.
So these are all samples, I think mostly from my book.
Okay.
And they're from a couple of different chapters. And the first like sort of set are from the weaving chapter. So lots of these were inspired by other techniques in weaving and other kinds. It's just really fun because you can use...
Sorry, you froze for a second again, but that's...
And then here it is.
It's here. Wonderful. I love that you take weaving techniques and push them through the knitting.
Yeah.
So
that's it. You can be like, when I was writing, I was looking at other different textile books. There's that great one that's like fabric manipulations, and it's all white. Like the lots of those kind of filtered, and you can kind of adapt them in. But this is actually such a simple technique, and you can make it look so complex just by changing yarns. Like, these are all different.
You've actually knitted those loops in, or have you put them afterwards? You've knitted them.
Yeah, they're knitted in. So I remember like being at uni, my tutor saying like, you can embroider on afterwards, but it's cool if you can make it integral to the fabric. And I've always kind of had that in my head. Like,
I know that the No Rules as well ask, can you show us the back of it?
Oh yeah, so the back is that, this is super boring, the back of this one.
No, it's just gone in. Wow.
And because all the sort of, these are really light, like mohair mixes, it's super light, this as well. But I'm just like, okay, so here's like, I've just randomly placed them. There's so many things that you could do.
Like a sampler, isn't it? You're just, what does it look like?
Yeah, you could do like much smaller loops, you could do bigger loops, you could put them in a much more organized way, you could do more colors, you could think about what color is the backing going to be, what's showing through. Like, there's so much.
It goes on and on. It could ombre, or it could like vary in scale. It's just exactly.
Another one from that chapter, which I love this one.
I love that too.
This is like thick roving sort of like rug wool. So I also like bringing in fabrics that, because you can't knit that on the machine, it's too fat, it's too chunky.
Right.
But this technique is really fun because you can bring in all of those super textured yarn stuff you can't like knit with, and then yeah, you get all these
Beautiful.
I just think like, how cool would that be? Like this, you could do it as cushions, you could do it as wall hangings, you could do it as like a big blanket. And the same again, you could do different shapes, you could do different scales, different colors, different backing. Like, you know, there's like loads.
So much. Can we see the back again?
Oh yeah, this one you could probably see a little bit more on the back.
Yeah, wow.
The thicker the yarn, it sort of will show, give you like this shadowy thing. So it is quite nice, like that.
And
is
I've also got into this thing at the minute of like, what happens if you used a non-felting yarn and a felting yarn, and then you put it through the machine?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do. I love a felter and a non-felter. I've got one just here. It's
Okay,
like
fab. Oh wow.
So that is lamb's wool, and then this is just the fishing wire.
Yes.
And I've doubled it and put it in the wash, and it gives this like crinkly, you know, yum.
How exciting. Love it.
And I've got more. This one is a good example of that as well. So there's the backer is lamb's wool and then cotton. So the cotton's obviously not felt, and then I've embroidered on top.
Lovely.
And that's technically the back. The front is a rose print.
Wow.
So how cool is that? You get two
yarns. Yeah.
You get 2 for 1. I love a 2 for 1 fabric.
Yes. Reversible.
I really do. Like that's this is a good one actually for felting, non-felting. So that is just vertical stripes that I knit and then felted, and this is wool and this is cotton. So you get, it makes the cotton go all wiggly. And then on the back, look how gorgeous that is on the back.
Beautiful.
And then the good thing with then felting is that then you can play around with it afterwards as well. So this one I've cut the floats on.
Because the felting has glued it. Yeah.
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 This one I cut.
Oh, you've frozen, Amber.
Get this sort of open striped fabric.
Show us the front again because it froze again.
So that's the sort of front now.
Right, yeah.
And then the back,
Wow.
I've cut these floats. And then this one, I've cut the lambs on the front and opened it up. So all from just one.
These are so delicious.
I know. These are some of my favorites from the book. Just these few, because I'm like, I've got like 6 fabrics all just from one.
So as you were writing the book, were you just sort of inventing these as you went, or did you?
Yeah, I thought a lot about the technique. So I had my sort of like chapter techniques. Okay, these are what I want to teach, and then I had some samples already, and then I just sort of started gathering imagery and other textile techniques and thinking how I can push these like basic techniques into more things. And so some of them aren't inspired by things. It's a mix of stuff, and like some of them are just like, I like this one, I didn't plan it, I just played. And the same with this one, I didn't really plan it, I just played. So this is like loop on a loop, because this is loop mohair. And then this is like an easy win for getting texture on a knitting machine. Like the yarn basically just does all the work, and the back's like pretty plain. But you know, using any kind of textured yarn, you've basically got something delicious. This is the same like mohair loopiness. And the back of this, this is very
so all of these techniques as well, because you have online courses, don't you? Do you teach these techniques in the online courses too.
Yeah, so the book, really, the techniques in it mostly I would say are beginner. There's probably a couple that are, I would say, intermediate.
Hmm.
Learn all of these techniques, and you and I show
Go back a
samples
bit.
of like,
You froze again just slightly. So
oh,
can you just go back one sentence. Sorry,
uh,
I can remember.
so what did I say? It'll be a
We were talking
blur.
about the book. You said the book is mostly beginner techniques, although I'm like,
Yes.
oh, it's a beginner. And we were talking about what's in your online courses.
Yeah. So yeah, the book is the sort of, each technique for a chapter is a basic technique, and then the book brief was kind of to be beginner intermediate, so to bridge that gap. When I teach beginners on my online workshops, we start with very basic techniques, and then it is about showing a few, I sort of show a load of samples, like,
Yeah.
and you could think about doing this, and you could think about doing this, and you could think about this. And again, I think that's a point of difference with mine,
Yeah.
and sort of what I feel like my selling point is, and that I know people love. Even a stripe, you can do so many things with a knitting machine, and people are like, huh, you know, like, because I think about,
Open their mind.
yeah, because people just think stripes is color, right?
Yeah.
And I think, okay, but stripes can also be texture, it can also be techniques. You can stripe techniques together. It doesn't have to just be about pattern. And that's the first chapter in the book, actually. It's like, there's a really good foundation just to play there. Like, there's no pressure, and there's so much you can do just with that. I'm just looking now. Have I got my little stripe? I had them. I'm in chaos. I've literally got samples.
My eyes keep going to the one behind you. These
This.
It looks like smocking. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
I knit
presuming that you
this.
got inspired by smocking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knit this sort of like, you can't see the whole thing, but I knit it as an alternative cover of it. So it's got a technique from each chapter.
Sorry.
On
Oh, I
the,
see.
on
Sorry,
it.
you froze again, but you were just saying that it's got a technique from each chapter on
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
each bit is a technique. Where are my stripe ones? Because they're,
I love the cover that you ended up with for your book. It's just incredible. I will put a picture.
oh yeah, I got it here.
Yeah, it's just so
I
you
see.
put that up in your studio in Bristol, didn't you?
Well, I hired a yoga studio because my studio is part of like a large warehouse room. So it's not all that aesthetically pleasing. But I sort of made a set with everything that I'd knit, and I was worrying, oh, I haven't made enough. I had 180 samples. My friend came with me to help me, and she was like, what are you talking about? You've got loads here.
And it looks incredible. I love the picture with you in it as well. It's just,
oh yeah, I wanted that moment of like, I've done this, and I am going to celebrate
your
this.
face says everything in it. It's just, there's a face of joy and like, just, yeah, it's really
Well,
good.
here they are. I found them. So these are just a few little stripe samples, but
Oh, wow.
and I kept everything white and neutral because I often work that way anyway.
Yes.
But
Well, that's because you're so interested in the texture
yeah,
and the process and the
so,
innovation.
like, that is so simple.
Yeah.
So simple, but isn't that just so beautiful? Like the way that ripples, and then even from there you could do different sizes of the different yarns. You could graduate them, you could make it random, and this is the one I showed before, but another stripe sample of just using different yarns and playing. This one's my absolute fave. It's it's using an elastic that means it's kind of 3D.
It's wonderful.
You see more of it when you stretch it and pull. So then I start thinking, okay, oh, how would this be if it like was pulled taut over somewhere on the body, or you know, like how can I distort
That's
this
where
more?
your hours of working on that dress that you were talking about really come in, because you know you've got this knowledge of like making an actual big garment, and therefore you can really think like, how would that work within a pattern?
Yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah. And that's I tried to put some kind of like design advice into it, not necessarily for fashion, but
Yeah.
people often ask me, so what, like, how do you make that into something else? Like, how do you think about that? And it's obviously I've done a degree, so that's what I was trained in.
Yeah.
But there's ways to think about it, and often it's just playing. And if you've got a stand or even just a body or somebody else, you know, like moving it around, hanging it in different ways, like how does it interact? How does it
I
hang?
love that idea, Amber. That's kind of like that sort of draping pattern cutting, but with
Yeah,
knitwear.
yeah,
Why
yeah,
not? You know, pull it more and yeah.
exactly.
Never
And I
really
think
thought of that.
I sort of like picked that up at uni. Is Louise Goldin was one of my, like, I just loved her knit.
Mm.
And somebody, one of our pattern cutting teachers knew her and did an MA with her. And she said she doesn't think about knit in terms of drafting patterns for knit. She just thinks about it as fabric.
Yes.
And that really like just made my brain go,
Yes,
I can do anything I want actually with it. It doesn't
absolutely.
have to be this thing that I don't have to pattern cut it in a way that
It
is,
doesn't have to be this kind of finished thing. It's going to change into something completely,
yeah,
and you may have like 6 different knit swatches within a piece. You know, it's
yeah, yeah.
yes,
You
expanding your mind like that, thinking,
exactly.
yeah,
And like I actually, because my graduate pieces took so long to knit, like I wasn't making mock-ups before. I had like I had, you know, calico patterns which are nothing like what they were,
yes.
but there wasn't a fabric that I could use that would replicate it. So they were quite often a surprise. Like I would do the pattern and be like, huh. And luckily they turned out
Yeah.
well. Like
You kind of have to have
it's
the faith as well, don't you? And just go, I'm, yeah.
yeah. I
Or if
loved
it
the
doesn't
fabric.
work, I'll make this extra bit that
Yes,
will.
exactly. I figured it out as I went, and then once you kind of make one piece, you learn loads in that, you know, and then you go, okay, so maybe the next time I'll change this and put the weights and that, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, especially if you're working with like highly textured stuff, it's just really good to make a big swathe of it and just play around with it and see how it moves and hangs and interacts on something,
Yeah.
because it will be different to, you know, this a swatch like this knit huge is heavier and
Yes, exactly.
differently and whatever, and you just kind of have to go with it. Like I think it's different to other knitwear, like say you're making a fair old jumper or something more traditional, like you kind of know what the rules are there, and you know that if you do this, this will happen, and if you knit to this, this will happen. There's way less
And you have to keep to specific tensions where I know that if I was doing knitting, I wouldn't be able to. It would
yeah,
be all over the place.
like there's definitely more, like there's still a level of uncertainty, like even with like basic stuff like I've knit to sell, like I'm like, oh, that's wrong. I've done it and it's, you know, super basic. But when you're doing, yeah, when you're doing like really wild stuff, then you just kind of have to go with the flow of it a bit more and kind of like let go and just do it. And then if it's not what you know, if you're not happy with it, then you still learn loads to change it into what
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
be.
definitely. Definitely. I
And
think
I
we
like
do
that.
lots of things, ugly stuff or things that didn't quite turn out to kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
made a lot of ugly things. They're all down on the floor. I'm not showing you those ones.
I used to periodically put all the stuff that didn't work in the washing machine and put a dye in it and just see what happened.
Yeah.
If I got one thing that turns out well, it would be
Well, because
good.
like sometimes like that idea, I keep everything, like even
Yeah,
if it's ugly, I'm like, but the idea is
yeah.
cool now, but it might be right in the future and it might just make me go, oh, bing. So even though,
I
yeah, I've
worry
got,
about myself, Amber, because sometimes I will see something that's gone in the suitcase of ugliness like 10 years ago, and I'm like, I like it now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There'll be some like hideous sample that I made years ago, and then and then I'm the same. I'm like, maybe I do love lime green now. Often it's still the no.
Yeah, but actually, yeah, the color thing is distracting when you are focusing on what you're focusing on.
Yeah, but then I still think you can play with it. Like I did have color in it, just was very tonal and like me. There's what's this one? This has got a bit of grey in.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
definitely,
So it's
you
really
know,
interesting when you're bringing it in almost like a shadow.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like to think about like the negative space of something, or um like with these kinds of ones,
That's not
like
to
the
say
back.
color is bad. I'm just going to go back onto that. And
No, me
if you're,
neither.
if you're watching this and you love color, there may be just like one thing of Amber's that you're like, oh my goodness, I want to bring that texture into my work. And that, yeah, it
Yeah,
depends what
I
you
love color too. I especially love um
I love
other
color in other
people's color.
people's work.
Yeah, same, same.
Yeah.
It just I stopped using color at uni because they freaked me out about it, and they put loads of pressure on it. And what I had that was the natural ability, I just felt like I lost it. So I was like, I'm doing an all white collection, and
Yeah.
that's not
Right.
decided, which also did work with the inspiration I had and the techniques. But I think I've tried to work with color a little bit over the years and always just freaked myself out about it,
But
which
it's a
is
bit like that fabric manipulation book that you talked about, and
mm,
it's white. If we are kind of inspiring people through our processes, it's so much easier for it to spin off in a million different directions.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It's
as
like a blank canvas, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I do love I mean I've got
Ah. And you do tend to use it actually more in your knitwear that you
never like
design. Sorry, you stopped.
no,
But yeah, you do use quite a lot of color in the garments that you design and sell.
yeah.
You
But
were
that
doing, you're not
I
doing.
think that's like I found that easier. A, because the shapes are super simple
Yeah,
and minimal, and I started off like just with navy, and
yeah,
then I bought some greys in,
yeah.
and then I was brave and made a pink one, and then I was braver again and I did a pink, purple, and red one, and
Mm.
then I did, and so I've just kind of like followed really what I like in that, and I think I have a different design brain for that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's almost like the two kind of different sides to your business, which I know you've
Yeah,
kind of put the garments on pause for now
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're expecting and you have a little one. But we were sort of just talking about before we started recording that, it's just kind of that concentrating on the experimental side of it for now while you're so busy with your family.
Um,
It's
I need that more now, I think.
yeah.
I think writing the book was very difficult, but also amazing in that
Mm.
I didn't do any other work apart from that in that time. And I just sat and sampled, which is my favorite thing to do. And it's I did so much work um just doing that and playing, and it's really invigorated, like, no, I want to do this. And I think because life has changed so much for me in the last couple of years with having my son and expecting another one, we've moved to a different city, and like everything's very uncertain, like what our lives are going to look like, what work's going to look like. And although I've loved making the clothes that I sell, and I'm very proud of them because I think they're good pieces, that's not really what is exciting me anymore. And I want to make more. And
sorry, you want to make more. It just froze. Yeah, and I want to make more.
I want to make more work that's exciting for me. And I love fashion. I love that's where I often put my stuff into that space. I love to see it move. I love to see it on the body. But I've had to make money, you know, over the years that really has got pushed off to the side. I still need to make money, but with like teaching, that's sort of like bringing that in a bit. And then I would love eventually to get back to making some like mad stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And because I see other knitwear designers that are sort of coming up now and leaving the MAs and the Paris MA, which is just so cool for knit. And I'm like, that's really what I want to be doing again. Like I want to be making like the wild stuff, and then being able to like bring that back down to some sellable items. Like I want to have that mix, but it's about having time to do it.
Yeah, all of the things. But it is good to really
people.
It's
you know, they have
so good to, sorry.
Like, you know, often they have teams of people to be able to do that. And that's,
and
you know,
Amber, you're an ideas kind of incubator. Really, you know, and it'd be wonderful if you could go to Paris and kind of sell your swatches and let other people make them, you know, and continue with the gift that you have of being able to share your enthusiasm for knitwear and, you know, push other people to like play. And I think that's where I came to as well. The stuff that I like the most is the making of swatches and sharing that. And I sort of recognize that in you. And I'm so grateful that you came and spoke to us. Because it's been so wonderful to see all your stuff. Have you got any more that you would like to sort of show us?
I mean, I've got loads, but
I know, but if there's anything specific that you
this one won't seem like much, but this one,
wow.
So this, it feels special to me because this is all the
sorry,
all the odds and ends I say from my
it's all the offcuts from the book.
Yeah, and they're stuffed in,
wonderful.
And I just it's a sausage of, you know, just lushness.
I love that. See, I'm immediately thinking, oh, Trapunto, you could do that with stitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of your knit samples and going, how can I stitch that?
Yes, well, this is what I love. That's what I see with
like goes back.
passementary. I'm like passementary. I'm like, okay, so the way she's like woven these in, I could do that with I cords and do something like that. With this and like add it on the top.
Are those all knitted in, or are those
yeah knitted in? I mean, you could also stitch them. You could hand stitch
the way you things in.
But I love that it's integral to the fabric. I love that. This one I really love as well. This one's super 3D.
Oh gosh, I love that you can sort of see through it, and it's
so there's the back.
Wow.
And then this is one that I played with on the stand in different ways. You know, like it changes shape wherever you put it. I just love that kind of
incredible
3D-ness. Let's see if there's any others just last minute. Oh, I've got a little one I did the other day with shells, which is on my.
Yes, I saw that on Instagram. You just went in and played. You were like,
yes. And I'm like, it was so. I honestly was so happy, and like that's the thing as well. You know, I just treated them like beads. You can treat things, any materials, you know, can be used. It doesn't have to be knit. There's one here with canvas like woven through.
Wow. Oh,
That's like,
that's amazing.
that's just calico woven through, and then I felted it. So it's kind of like wedged in place. So that I've made a fabric from
Yeah.
fabrics.
Mhm.
There's another one here, weaving in
Oh,
feathers.
oh,
So there, and let me see if there's one that's empty. No, or perhaps on the back you can see. So I've made, and I've woven in little feathers
you
afterwards. So
made what? Sorry, you made a what? Because
so
it froze. So you
let's
made, did
say
you say you made a,
a
what did you,
ladder. So
yeah.
here's like a ladder technique where
Okay.
you went,
So you can actually have control over the ladders. Is that what you're
yes, yeah,
saying?
yeah. So you can do like cool shapes,
Yeah.
and then you can weave things. So you can combine techniques all together.
Mm.
And you can even add, I haven't got any samples here, but you can add other fabrics on. So I knit these frilly bits separately and then I've added them on, but you could do that with lace, or you could do that with any
Wow.
kind of like lacy or fabric that's got kind of holes on that you can get needles through. Then you can add those, and
Yeah.
maybe you've embroidered that before. Like you can just add layer upon layer of
Oh, my
techniques.
mind's
It's
just blown.
one.
Water soluble lace. Diddly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I remember you doing something with that ages and ages ago. Started connecting on Instagram and
Yeah.
thinking, oh yeah, I wonder if I could knit with that, and like how can I knit? And I was in the throes of all this, so I didn't get around to it, but it's still in the back of my head of like, how can I
Yeah.
bring the knit into that? And then
Might have to send you something, Amber.
yes, oh my gosh, yes, please.
Amazing.
Anything else here that's just standing out to me? I honestly, I've got so many ridiculous.
We could be
This
here
one's
literally all day. I love seeing, oh, and that's interesting with that lemon color. I love that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
this,
Lemon?
whenever I've done colours, it's like
Yeah.
often been quite tonal. Um, and I think that's just my way of feeling more comfortable with it. I'm like, if I'm going to do pink, I'll do pinks.
Yeah.
It'll just be pinks.
But it's
And I,
always complementing the texture. You're using color to
yeah,
kind of complement it, aren't you? Or
yeah.
accentuate the texture. Yeah.
I think as well, like when you're starting a technique or something, it is like a good base to one color or white even, so that you
Yeah.
can
I
just see
went
what you're
through a
doing.
phase with my agent where they were like, just make everything in black and white because it's so easy for people to interpret. And
Yeah,
I did. And I just used to do a lot like that.
yeah. And then, you know, I in the book I sort of tried to be like, so you could do this technique, but what about if that was like bright purple?
Yeah.
And what about if you striped the colors?
Oh,
Or
yes.
so like I just feel like
Goodness.
starting on
That
a
so
new,
that wiggle was striped knitwear, and then it would be ooh, ah.
yeah. So like if you're into color, like this one, like each of these frilly bits could be a different color. The bit in between could be a different color.
Yeah.
You can get a thing on the knitting machine where the underneath would be a different color to the top. So like you can kind of take it in a direction that you want to take it. It doesn't, you know, I'm not saying that here's my book and you have to knit beige and white.
No, no.
You know, there's so much scope for adding in color as well, and that if that's your thing, then it's like you, how do you enhance the texture with it? And like
I
I
bet
just
you find it really exciting to see what people do, because I really do. Like if I throw something out there and then somebody does it totally in their way, it
yeah,
just makes my heart burst.
yeah, I love it. I get that more when I teach in person,
Yeah.
because yeah, I'm showing them the basics and they're learning, and then they're like, but what, can I try this? I'm like, yeah. And they're
And
like, well, what will
you
happen
can
if I
see
do
sparks
this?
ignite then, can't you? You can see their faces.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I really, because often there'll be a technique that they really love more. And even though I teach like a wide range, so you've got a good base, it's like, but you don't have to do these now. If you're into this, like do this, like really go into that and dig deep into that.
Having
Because
said that though, Amber, honestly, I see sparks flying across screens when we're
well, yes,
these
yeah,
things, it seems, and it is quite magical.
yeah.
It's kind of quite amazing. But thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank
I
you.
thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you all do too watching, because it's just been wonderful to hear more and see more of your samples and just everything. Thank you
Well, I'm
so much.
really pleased to
I'll
share
put all
them.
the details below of how you can find Amber and her courses and the book and everything. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been fun. Thank
Thank
you.
you.